Hi everyone, this is Ramalinga Prasad Kuppa. Welcome to my channel Pharma World. Today's topic is handling of contract laboratories for pharmaceutical testing. Contract laboratory for testing on behalf of the original manufacturer is considered as an extension of testing activities of the original manufacturer at contract laboratory premises. It is the entire responsibility of the original manufacturer for GLP compliance. Similar type of good laboratory practices compliance is required at the contract laboratory. Let us learn more in detail. Let us see the requirement. The guideline PAPH-OMCL 14-18-3R prescribes the following conditions. This guideline provides useful information on handling of contract laboratory operations, how to qualify a third-party testing laboratory, how this information is communicated to the customer, including the regulatory agencies. This guideline describes how the contract laboratory is selected, qualified. The guideline also describes on the responsibilities of contract giver, that is the original manufacturer, and the contract acceptor, that is the third party laboratory. Third party laboratory is considered as an authorized testing facility on behalf of the original manufacturer. This is a very important point to note. Third party laboratory is considered as a part of the original manufacturer when it comes to testing for release of the products. The original manufacturer is fully responsible for the testing and the results obtained at the contract laboratory. Original manufacturer is responsible for the authenticity and accuracy of the test results obtained from the third party laboratory. So accordingly, the responsibility totally relies on the original manufacturer. How a third party laboratory is selected? Let us see. A temporary or continuous testing facility on behalf of the original manufacturer is called a third party laboratory. This is one condition for selection of the contract laboratory. Some selected tests temporarily or on regular basis may be carried out at their premises. The third party laboratory should comply to the applicable GLP requirements. The third party contract laboratory should comply to necessary GLP requirements. Data integrity should also be as a part of several guidelines, including 21 CFR Part 11, etc., adhering to the ALCOA principles. When there is a requirement for special and rare techniques which is not available at original manufacturer's premises, some rare and specialized techniques like NMR also may be done through contract laboratory. Generally, such rare and expensive equipment are not available for routine pharmaceutical testing. To handle excessive testing load at the original manufacturer's facility, third-party laboratory can be utilized. Even to handle excessive testing load, contract laboratory may be utilized. Also, if there are no skilled personnel available at original manufacturer's facility, the third-party laboratory may be selected. This point is also important to note. Certain techniques need specialized, elaborate training and skills to handle such sophisticated equipment. The third-party laboratory has to be selected by the quality units of the manufacturer by auditing the testing facility. The quality units of the manufacturer should audit the contract laboratory premises for checking the compliance to GLP. Quality units include QC and QA. A detailed checklist should be used so that no point is missed out during the audit process while checking compliance. Any laboratory approved by the manufacturer, quality unit, or a regulatory agency network may also be considered for selection. The selection could be from the list already approved by the quality units or a regulatory agency network. Manufacturer's laboratory at another location may also be selected as a third-party laboratory. This is a good strategy to select laboratory of the same company of different location. One advantage in this is that the basic GMP, the GLP systems may be common for all sites, but still the laboratory should be audited for compliance to GLP. ISO 17025 guideline may be considered for selection of a third-party laboratory. This is a wonderful guide which provides very elaborate requirements for qualifying a third-party contract lab. Because of time constraints, those details are not discussed here. But read the guideline and understand the full requirement. Let us see the required checklist. Name and division of the third-party laboratory, its locational complete address. There are 4 parts of checklist. The part 1 checklist should have the following. The first thing is its locational address, including its GPS coordinates, details of contact person, responsible person, qualified person, their professional qualifications, their contact telephone numbers, etc. should be captured. Contact person's details are required for logistics of the contract agreement, whereas qualified person's details are required for attributing the authenticity of the data provided by the contract laboratory. The qualified person is also called as responsible person for quality of the data. The checklist should also include the tests along with the reference, example pharmacopoeia for which the laboratory was selected. The list should include all tests accepted to carry out by the contract laboratory. Also, any compendial references against which the product is tested. This information is captured in this format. The information can be obtained from the guideline PA/PH OMCL 1439 R2. Let us see the Part 2 checklist. Following should be checked as Part 2. Accreditation certificates as prescribed in ISO 17025. There should be the accreditation certificates as per the guide ISO 17025. Systems capability to carry out the test as per agreement. Qualified and calibrated systems to carry out the listed tests should be checked here. Capable persons to perform the test should also be captured here. GLP certification by any regulatory agency, WHO qualification program, name of the accreditation body, and certificate number with validity date. So, WHO qualification program with name of the agency that qualified the laboratory along with the certificate number should be captured in Part 2 checklist. The above information is captured in this format. MJA means Mutual Joint Audit. Let us see the Part 3 checklist. If Part 2 checklist is satisfactory, you can go to Part 4. If not, check the following as Part 3 checklist. The intent is that in Section 2 checklist, all the points that are going to be looked into in Section 3 were checked by the qualifying agency. If the qualification by regulatory agency was not done, Then check the Part 3 checklist. Whether or not QMS is practiced, check the full compliance systems, the quality management system, check the audit trail process for both electronic equipment and non-electronic equipment. Whether or not relevant SOPs are in place, check for controlled copies of the SOP for each operation from sample receipt through analysis, data archival and sample disposal, etc. Is there a detailed OOS procedure? The OOS procedure should be detailed as per CDER guideline and MHRA guide. Most of the places OOS procedure is paraphrased from the guideline. It is difficult to execute on benchtop investigations. The OOS procedure should be descriptive in imperative mandatory style. The sentences should be assertive with actual action required during investigation. Are analytical methods validated? Method validations as per USP 1225 chapter or ICH Q2 guidelines should be done. Of course, the content is same in both the guidelines. Are the reference standard materials qualified? If the reference standards are in-house prepared, its structure elucidation data and certification data with primary standard should be done. Are the equipment qualified? Equipment qualifications, requalifications, preventive maintenance, etc. should be checked in detail. Entire history records of the equipment should be verified for establishing its working condition. Are the analyst qualification records available? Details on how the analyst is qualified should be checked. How many SOPs are evaluated verbally? How many through a test physically should be checked? Justification for verbal evaluation should also be done if it is not a critical procedure. Are there skilled persons to carry out the agreed tests? If the person is qualified, then we can consider as skilled to carry out the job effectively. Are the scientific publications including USP, BP, IP, etc. available for reference? This is important. The latest pharmacopoeia copies and other scientific journals should be available for reference. Is a third-party laboratory popular in the market? Generally, if the contract laboratory services are compliant, obviously it should be popular in the market. This point also should be checked. Any other important information about the laboratory? Other important information on the transparency in operations, less number of complaints, etc. should also be the part of checklist 3. The same information is captured in this format. This format can also be obtained from the same guide PAPH OMCL 1439 R2. Following should be checked as part 4 of the checklist. Let us go to the checklist part 4. This should be done before, during and after completing the analysis. Archival and retrieval of data from the data bank. Availability of a well-established system for archival and retrieval of data should be checked here. Data storage period. Mutually agreed storage times of data between contract giver and the contract laboratory should be part of checklist part 4. Samples handling and storage systems. Sample handling of temperature sensitive, light sensitive materials should be detailed. Storage period of test samples. How long the samples should be stored also should be prescribed. If the compliance to checklist from part 1 to part 4 is satisfactory, Based on the evaluation, it should be decided on selection of the third-party laboratory. Now, if all the checklists from 1 to 4 are satisfactory, then it is time to take a decision on selection of the contract laboratory. Data from checklist part 4 may be captured in this format. Decision on selection of the contract laboratory may be captured here in this format. Let us see the selection process. A detailed GLP checklist should be drafted for selection of the third-party laboratory. The checklist of compliance will help to cover the entire operations without any missing point. It should be audited. The contract laboratory should be audited as per mutually agreed timelines. Testing on benchtop should be witnessed during the audit process. It is a requirement to witness the carrying out of the test while auditing. Test protocol may have the counter signature of the auditor as additional checker. Collect all necessary raw data. Entire raw data should be collected for review. After review of all data to the satisfaction, the third-party laboratory should be approved for contract testing. After satisfactory evaluation, the third-party laboratory may be approved. Let us see some important information on records keeping. All the data should be captured under a well-established, challenged QMS. Data capture should be as per QMS requirements. If the approved third-party laboratory services were not utilized for longer periods, requalification is necessary. This is important. If the services of contract laboratory were not utilized for longer periods, the contract laboratory may be re-audited. If any confirmatory tests are carried out, a formal communication, email, should be made between contract giver, original manufacturer, and the third-party laboratory. Other than routine listed tests as agreed, some confirmatory tests may also be carried out at contract laboratories' premises. For this, a formal agreement may not be necessary. Any communication as email or a letter may be adequate. Let us see how the data protection declaration is done. The following example format may be used. The subcontractor mentioned below declares to treat all the data documents and information from, you have to write the name of the manufacturer here, as confidential. The subcontractor will not use any information on the origin, the manufacturing process, or the composition of products or any other product related information for their own purposes and will not pass any such information to a third party. These obligations remain valid after completion of the assignment. Since contract laboratory uses confidential information of the original manufacturer, it is necessary to have a non-disclosure confidentiality statement may be made as in this format. This format is extracted from PAPH OMCL 1418 3R document. Let us see the responsibilities of the manufacturer, the contract giver. Following are the responsibilities of contract giver. All necessary data for testing, the test procedure, standards, necessary safety precautions for handling. If it is not the pharmacopoeial procedure, it is the responsibility of the contract giver to provide the validated method for analysis. Also, if the reference standards are specific and are not freely available in the market, the contract giver should provide such standards. Conditions of storage of the test samples and how long the sample should be stored after testing. Certain materials are sensitive to ingress of moisture. They have to be handled under nitrogen atmosphere. Handling of such materials should be communicated to the contract laboratory adequately to get reliable results. Adequate sample for testing, at least 2 times the requirement for analysis. This is a guideline requirement as per section 11.72 of ICH Q7. This point is for retention sample requirement. Logically, the same can be considered valid for testing too. Checking the test data along with audit trail. Data reviews along with audit trail for both electronic and non-electronic equipment should be done. Audit trail for non-electronic equipment can be checked through controlled logbooks for who, when, what, why of the operation. Let us see the responsibilities of the third-party laboratory, the contract acceptor. Following are the responsibilities of contract acceptor. Carry out the test with integrity. The responsibilities of contract laboratory include analysis of the sample with integrity as per the prescription of the procedure. Qualified and calibrated equipment and skilled personnel are available for testing. Records should be available for establishing this fact. No subcontracting any part of the testing to other laboratory. Contract laboratory should never subcontract any part of the test to other party without written permission from the original manufacturer, the contract giver. No changes without written approval of contract giver. So, no changes or deviations from the protocol of testing. Allow the contract giver to audit the laboratory. As per the mutually agreed timelines, the contract acceptor should allow the contract giver to audit the facility. Other logistics include data transfer from the contract acceptor to the contract giver. In case the contract is terminated by the contract giver, the contract acceptor should transfer back all the confidential information to the contract giver. Let us see other important points to note. Each data of the third-party laboratory testing should be reviewed by the original manufacturer for accuracy and authenticity. Data review with a particular view on data integrity should be done on the contract laboratory results. The customers, including regulatory agencies, should be notified on such contract with third-party laboratory. In many cases, the customer acceptance should be sought. This is important. It is mandatory to inform the customer of the original manufacturer to provide the details of the contract testing laboratory. Acceptance from the customer may also be necessary in many cases. It is necessary to mention on the certificate of analysis if any part of the testing is carried out by a third-party laboratory. While issuing the certificate of analysis by the original manufacturer, if any part is tested by a contract laboratory, the information should be clearly mentioned on the certificate of analysis. There should be a detailed system including all these salient features described in this video in your quality management system. If you have a procedure already in place, review the content as per this information and revise accordingly. I hope that the information on handling of contract laboratory and responsibilities of contract giver and acceptor are understood well. Read the PA/PH OMCL 1418 3R, PA/PH OMCL 1439 R2 and ISO 17025 guideline for more detailed information. Thanks for watching. For more videos, please do subscribe, like and share. Thank you.